Breaking news here on NFL Live. Adam Schefter reporting that four-time All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner reached an agreement on a 3-year, $63 million contract extension. It includes over $56 million guaranteed, makes him the highest-paid linebacker in the NFL. And this is really interesting, as Adam's pointing out. You see there are extensions from San Francisco in the last month. Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, George Kittle, and look at this. Purdy, as we know, last pick in the draft. Warner was a third-round pick. Kittle, a fifth-round pick. You see the investment that they've made in these players, the development that you've seen, and maybe just really good identifying of talent in the draft. Look how that's paid off for this team. Of course, we've talked about the 49ers doing some big deals here. Mina, what do you think about Fred Warner and getting this extension done?
I mean, Fred Warner rocks. I know that's not exactly sophisticated football analysis, but I was just watching him on tape, and he's been the best linebacker, off-ball linebacker in this league now for years and years. He's so fundamental to what they do on offense, and it's because of his unbelievable versatility, his athleticism, his sideline-to-sideline range, his brain. He is probably the best linebacker against play action that I've ever seen. He's a future Hall of Famer. Gets to stay with the team now for more years. This is an obvious no-brainer contract.
Yeah, I love it. He's somebody that also is such an incredible presence in the locker room and on the field, as you illustrated there, Mina. All right, let's talk about somebody else who's kind of in the same vein. Live from our Adam Schefter, the Browns have signed quarterback Shedeur Sanders to a 4-year, $4.6 million contract. Going to be really interesting to see what his future is in Cleveland and whether or not he makes the team. All right, coming up, Derrick Henry has a new. It's only May, and the Eagles are already making moves, putting the rest of the league on notice. We welcome you to NFL Live. So glad that you're with us. Mina Kimes, Peter Schrager, Tim Hasselbeck here with you for the hour. Guys, there's a lot to get to. Let's start with some news out of Philly. Nick Sirianni, who you saw a lot off the top of the show there, agreeing to a multi-year contract extension with the Eagles. After leading the team to a Super Bowl, Sirianni's proven he's the right man for the job. The Eagles rewarding him with a long-term deal. Certainly, if you know the story, the journey of Sirianni, it's pretty remarkable. He has been very successful with the Eagles. He's 54-23, including the playoffs, and that's the fifth best record by a coach in NFL history, trailing only Guy Chamberlain, Vince Lombardi, John Madden, and Ray Flaherty. All four of those guys in the Hall of Fame, just saying, very good company to be in. Tim, how do you think Sirianni has gotten to this point in his career?
Well, I think first and foremost by being himself, because I think a lot of people would look at the way he does things and maybe say, look, that's not, what a head coach should do, or not what a head coach should do in Philadelphia. But he's been himself, and then he's putting good people around him. Obviously, Howie Roseman has done an excellent job with the personnel in Philadelphia. There's been coordinator change. He's done an excellent job of, with some hiccups, managing through that. And so I think when you do that, you give yourself a chance to be successful as a head coach. He's done that. And you think about what he's accomplished. Just to be very fair to Nick Sirianni, Andy Reid was an amazing coach in Philadelphia. Was never able to win a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni has been able to do that. And so I think when you put it kind of through that lens, the reward of this contract, and also the expectation that he's got an opportunity to continue there in Philadelphia, where it is not easy to please people, he's done an excellent job.
Yeah, and my take on it is, why shouldn't he get paid? Why shouldn't he get an extension? Everyone else did, and everyone else who has won in the NFL does get that reward. Now, truth of the matter is, Nick Sirianni wouldn't work with every locker room, and Nick Sirianni might not work with every team, but he's Philadelphia's guy, and in that building, they respond to him. The local media had their way with him for the first couple weeks of last season. There was talk after a win in Cleveland in the local Philadelphia airwaves that Sirianni should be removed, should be fired. They respond with that incredible rip on their schedule of just winning all those games in the regular season and then just trashing everyone in the playoffs. Bottom line is this: Sirianni coaches the Philadelphia Eagles as well as anyone could possibly coach the Philadelphia Eagles. If you were to drop him in the LA Rams locker room, would it be the same? I don't know. Kansas City? I don't know. Minnesota? Who knows? It doesn't matter. They found their guy. He works with them. Why should anyone else have a problem with him getting paid and extended? I'm happy for him.
I think can also point to specific things that he does with this roster that he deserves credit for. I think sometimes we look at the Philadelphia Eagles and we say, well, this is Howie Roseman's success story. He built an all-star team, essentially, and that's true. But those players come with their own set of challenges. There's been conflicts on the sidelines. We've seen them happen. He is a player's coach, and those players in particular respond to him. He's also managed through adversity. Tim alluded to this. The Philadelphia Eagles, this time last year, we were all everybody was talking about whether or not Nick Sirianni would keep his job. The fact that he rode through that, oversaw the changes at coordinator, came out on the other side and won a Super Bowl, is absolutely a testament to what he's done there. And then finally, I'll say one more thing, just in terms of his contributions, the aggression he's shown as a game manager. Yes, it is easier to go for it on fourth down aggressively when you have the tush push, which is going to be a hot topic this week. And maybe he's going to have to see what life is like without it. But not every coach would have been as aggressive as Sirianni's been from the very beginning in Philadelphia, and he deserves a ton of credit for that as well.
That's a great point. We'll get to more on that tush-push situation a little bit later on. It seems like Sirianni has always had this unwavering faith in his players, and somehow that breeds amazing confidence. It makes sense. Another number to point out, he's one of 3 coaches ever to make multiple Super Bowls in his first 4 seasons, along with Mike Tomlin and Joe Gibbs. Elsewhere in the NFC East, let's talk about some of the buzz in Dallas as the Cowboys kick off OTAs today. Now, after falling short yet again in the playoffs, the Cowboys looking to George Pickens to bring a new edge to their offense. Here's what CeeDee Lamb had to say about Pickens' role in the offense. This is CeeDee talking, not me, but I'm going to have to say it like CeeDee. Lamb said, "We both won. It ain't no A, B, none of that. It's one. You look over there, you see one. You look over here, you see another one." So what you got to do with that? Basically, he's saying they're both really good. All right, aside from acquiring Pickens, the Cowboys also brought in Dante Fowler Jr., Solomon Thomas, Javonte Williams, and Miles Sanders as free agents. Then they had a great draft. They got Tyler Booker, who's expected to start at right guard. That's key. Pass rush specialist Donovan Ezaraku, corner Siobhan Ravel Jr., and running back Jaden Blue out of Texas. It's a who's who when it comes to the draft and some of these great additions that they've made in the offseason. So that's big. But when we talk about all these things, I think the main one, right, is George Pickens. So, Peter, what do you make of those comments from CeeDee Lamb about both of them kind of being ones?
I loved it. And I'll say this, I've spoken to Cowboy sources over the last 2 weeks since that trade has been made. It makes a lot of sense when you talk to them bringing in Pickens. He's 24 years old. He hasn't even scratched the surface of what he can be. He's going into the final year of a contract, so he's going to be motivated financially. And there's this albatross around his name that he's this like cancer in the locker room where they don't see it that way. And they've spoken to people in Pittsburgh. Now, with their immaturity, of course, we've documented it well. Late to practice, late to game, all that stuff. But with a motivation of, hey, you're going to come to the Dallas Cowboys and you're going to make career life-changing money if you have one good season, that this makes sense. And from them, they went through the draft inside and out. And there was probably one player that they viewed in the same breath as George Pickens at that position. And Teteroa McMillan went to the Panthers 8th overall. So they pivoted, took an offensive lineman. But this was better than any draft pick that was possible at the wide receiver spot. As for CeeDee Lamb, I love this. This is CeeDee Lamb saying, I have no problem sharing the spotlight. I have no problem seeding some of my targets. CeeDee Lamb had 73 more targets than the next leading wide receiver in Dallas last year. He's probably looking at this as relief. And you know wide receivers, they could be prickly, they could want their balls. In this case, CeeDee Lamb showing a lot of leadership saying, no. It's the two of us. It's not just me and then him. I love this on all fronts, and I'm a Cowboys fan, whether it was said in May, June, July at a Kyler Murray softball tournament or what. I like having this out there and CD saying, you know what? We're going to do this together.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb also was dealing with injury last year. He was banged up. He kept feeling like he had to go out there because there was literally no one else. Mina, how much of a matchup nightmare do you think this wide receiver duo can be with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb for opposing defenses?
It completely changes the way defenses play the Dallas Cowboys, which